To say hi to everyone who is watching this on our live stream. I think it's in 12 different cities, including Los Angeles. Los Angeles, you're in our thoughts. And it is my great pleasure, there we go, to be able to introduce the filmmakers and the cast. Let's start with Julia Fox. And then Wes Mulholland, Eddie Mayday, Lena Liang, Chris Selman, Lucy Ward, we have writer Dave Pepp, and director Steven Soderbergh. Hello. So this is obviously a fictional ghost story, but Steven, I've heard that the roots of this project came from a real spooky incident involving a house that you lived in. Is that true?
It is true. A house that I was living in Los Angeles. We had a house sitter while we were out of town, and she saw a ghost. She was in the parlor, like TV room, and saw something out of the corner of her eye down the hallway, and it was a woman crossing from the bathroom to what was the master bedroom. And she instinctually shouted out my wife's name because she thought it was my wife, and then realized, no, I'm house sitting because they're not here, and called my wife and said this really weird thing happened. So we kind of followed this up. Turns out somebody had died in that room, a woman, an older woman, and we dug a little further and found out that the police report said it was a suicide, but our neighbor told my wife it was not a suicide. This daughter killed her mom. There were blood trails from down the hallway into the bedroom, onto the bed. You know what I mean? So we find this. We've been living here for a while, and my first thought was, well, if that's true, that sounds awful, but what? So we're in her home. What would it be like? My wife gave her a name. It's not her real name, but my wife gave her a name, Mimi. So what if Mimi feels like this is her home and people come in? How does she feel? Like that's where this came from. And so I wrote down a few things, or I typed out a couple of pages and sent them to David and said, just the idea of we're in a house, it's a shot, then it goes to black, another shot, something happens, you're in somebody's point of view, and it's whoever is in this house. And that was it, and he took it.
So the idea of this being from the ghost point of view was there in the beginning.
Oh no, that was the whole idea. Steven said, I want to do a ghost story only from the ghost point of view, and I love things that are restricted. I love an idea that is constrained, whether it's one location, or it's got to be 24 hours, or it's two people in a lifeboat, whatever the bottle is. I really feel like it frees you up creatively because you're forced to make find other solutions than what you would traditionally do. So we had a couple rules, which was there had to be one house. We wanted it to be a family drama, and I remember Steven said, "Oh, and this family, by the way, is really fucked up." And I said, "That's interesting. Tell me more." And he said, "I don't know. They're really fucked up." And I said, "Oh, I see, really fucked up." So, but that was great, and now I have all the sand I need in the box. You know, there's complex family dynamics, we're stuck here, and every scene has to be written so that it can be performed and shot in a oneer, which sounds not that hard, but then you realize if we're ever gonna have a close-up, if there's ever something important that we wanna see, if there's ever a moment you need to be close to an actor's face, you have to motivate it not just with the events, but why would the presence, which is the fifth member of this family, why would the presence go in close? So it was fun to have that kind of challenge.
For both of you, and Stephen, you were the cinematographer on this, in addition to being the editor and director, so you were operating the camera. How did you decide how you wanted the camera to kind of have a personality? Like it goes and hides in the closet for a bit. It kind of really does give you a sense of subjectivity early on.
Well, that was all very scripted. And I think, look, a movie should be giving you clues in the first 5, 10, 15 at the most. Clues about like, how am I supposed to watch this? Like, what's going on? What do these images mean? So I felt like this afforded us an opportunity to set the clues up really early, like in the first shot. Like by the end of the first shot, you understand there's something in this house. Where did everybody go? You know, and I don't feel secure. Like I feel kind of like afraid, or you know what I mean? I retreat into that's the first shot. And the score is part of that. The score is part of bringing you into that sort of point of view, so that you're like, oh, it feels. And so, you know, once you're there, you've just got to make sure the trajectory is kind of working. But it seemed like when we talked about it, the simplest thing. You know what I mean? Oh, it's all, but it presented challenges, but it seemed like really simple in its conception.
Lucy, I believe you were the first person cast, and I'm curious what you thought when the script was handed to you. That you have this project that was shot in secret and over 11 days. Is that right? What did you think?
Well, when I sat with Stephen, we just talked about each other and got to know each other, and then he told me about the script, and then he sent it to me, and I thought, okay, great. You know, I read the script immediately, and then I thought, okay, he wants me to play the woman who is sort of the soothsayer / you know, the one who can connect to the other side. I didn't really know which role it was. I thought that was the one, you know, because oftentimes when I get a script, it's the odd man out, not the wife, not the mother, and so I was so confused, and I reread the script, and I Carmen Cuba, who had cast it, sent me the script also, and I said, oh, just which role should I look at? And then she said Rebecca, and I thought, oh, I have to reread the script again. And I think the one thing that I took away from the script was it wasn't absolutely clear what happened at the end. And I love that because David did such an excellent job of not tying everything up in a bow. Like what happened to Rebecca's situation at work? You know, what exactly occurred that wasn't finished? And I think it allows the audience, because, and I think for Stephen as well in this case, we know that the audience is smart. Let them be intelligent. Let's not give them everything and then repeat it, or let them, you know, understand that they're going to follow along as opposed to be the leading it. And I think that's what makes it kind of, the tension is created, and it keeps that emotional, heightened feeling of what happens, because the movie is actually quite short. It falls off very quickly, and it's unexpected. So, I mean, it's an exciting project to be a part of, because I am just an enormous fan of both Stephen's and of David. So I was really thrilled to be a part of it.
You know, there's a lot of dysfunction in this family, and Each of the characters has their own drama. Your character happens to bring both this like professional thing that we kind of understand is maybe bringing legal repercussions down on her, and inside the family, is playing favorites pretty openly amongst her children. What was it like to kind of play this really wonderfully like imperfect matriarch?
I mean, the thing about Rebecca is that she's more than complicated. She also does things without compunction and without thought for others, except for herself and for her, you know, her futurizing for her son, who she obviously, as you said,